anybody has acted this way, they must not be too comfortable in their position, wondering if somebody is going to, call human resources, file a complaint, at a certain department head or whatever it is, but just wondering when their time might be called. It must be very stressful, I would imagine, for many people in this country that are at work today, and, they see people like Matt Lauer and Charlie Rosen and Bill O'Reilly and Al Franken and Judge Roy Moore. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Weinstein. I mean, it's just a huge laundry list of people. And we're talking big people. But it's not just the big people that are going to fall. It's going to be people, from all different levels. I mean, from the highest to, the most minimal position at the smallest, medium, largest company. I mean, it's going to happen. And if anything that should teach people a lesson is this: never partake in questionable behavior in the workplace. Some people, apparently, they can't control themselves. They just have to be lewd. That never was me. I'm a gentleman, and that's the way it should work. I mean, unwanted advances. If a woman, doesn't appreciate it and she's not going to, then there's no sense of being able to throw it out there, because that's abusive behavior. That's abuse. Some men don't see it that way. Some just like to play. They think it's fun. There is a movie that kind of alludes to some of the antics that does happen in the news media business, The Anchorman. With it's fictitious, the Anchorman, Ron Burgundy. But anyway, in the movie, it shows the sexist, behavior there. Remember, it's Anchorman, not Anchor woman, and just all the things that they. But it's not a far cry from people that actually work in the business doing news. I mean, this is rampant, and it's not just there on radio and television, and the entertainment business, and the movie business, and in Hollywood. It's everywhere. It's to the smallest towns to the largest cities. There's just, unfortunately, a lot of folks that they can't control their behavior. And for too long, it's been excused. And they've not been reprimanded. And as a result of it, it's created monsters into this climate. But now, to see the people are actually boldly coming out now on national television and radio, and boldly, they don't care who it is. I'm telling you, blood pressure's got to be rising. It must be really stressful out there for anybody that's doing this particular thing, or has done something like that, either existingly or in the past or whatever it is, because it could come and haunt you. And again, I really feel bad about Matt Lauer, but the other thing is that his co-hosts, and, it was very well thought out what they had to say, but Stephanie Gossick basically reiterated the news of Lauer's firing and told viewers that NBC staffer had complained about inappropriate behavior at Lauer through 2014, according to The Hollywood Reporter. And then the New York Post, citing a source, reported an incident occurred during the coverage of the 2016 Olympics in Rio. So there's stuff at the Olympics, there's stuff in 2014, and apparently there's even more stuff there. But they basically said that they were more or less sorry that, that these women had to endure this, and that they were courageous too. Donald Trump weighs in. He says, wow, Matt Lauer was just fired from NBC for inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace. But when will the top executives at NBC and Comcast be fired for putting out so much fake news? Check out Andy Lack's post. Matt Lauer, 59 years old, ladies and gentlemen, had a $20 million contract that would have taken him well into 2018. And like I reminded you, this just comes days after CBS, this morning's host, Charlie Rose, was canned for his behavior towards women, which included showering naked in front of them at his home. So that leaves just Good Morning America host George Stephanopoulos as the remaining male anchor of the big three network morning shows. And I'm not saying there's anything on George Stephanopoulos. That would be insane. I mean, hard to think, but a lot of people, they idolized Matt Lauer. They can't believe it. Matt Lauer? Oh, my God. Really? The guy that helicopters in from the Hampton every morning that had to be in his contract if he was actually going to remain with NBC? Helicoptered into the Hamptons, folks. I can't relate. Hey, listen, $20 million helicoptered into from the Hamptons. I mean, come on, don't be a hater. No. Hey, some of those houses are pretty impressive. I make pretty good money with my company, but not Hampton money, baby. Wow. That would be the gig of gigs. I'll have to remember that. Network comes to me with a good contract. You got to helicopter me in from someplace. That would be fun. Yeah, just as long as the helicopter doesn't go down. Yeah, that would be the freaky thing. Don't like it. There's a if you could say this correctly, and I'm trying, Quinnipiac. There we go. They have a poll out talking about women that have faced sexual harassment, and Mark Swanson points this out in Newsmax if you'd like to see it in black and white. But here are the results according to Quinnipiac's survey. 60% of women, it says, have experienced sexual harassment. 69% of women experienced it in the workplace. 43% said it happened in social settings. 45% said it happened on the street, while 15% said it happened at home. Now, among men, we can't leave men out, all right, because it does happen to men, believe it or not. Among men, 20% said they had experienced sexual harassment. 20%. But overall, 64% of voters know somebody who has been sexually harassed, and 30% know someone who has harassed another, according to Quinnipiac. That's pretty interesting, 30%. Nearly 9 in 10 of both men and women agree that sexual harassment is a serious problem. Further, if Judge Roy Moore wins the December 12th special election in Alabama, 60% of the voters said Congress should expel him. 60%. 33% said of Republicans who said that 49% of GOP voters said that he should not be expelled. Well, that was 49%. Roy Moore, they say, may make it to the Senate chambers. But an overwhelming majority of American voters would like to rip the welcome mat out from under him and send him packing back to Alabama, said Tim Malloy, assistant director of the Quinnipiac University poll. So from November 15th to November 20th, Quinnipiac University surveyed 1,415 voters nationwide with a margin of error at 3.1 percentage points. Like I say, folks, it's tough. It's tough out there, isn't it? And if you're in a position trying to raise a family, trying to just pay your bills, people are going to remain quiet. They know the boss. They know who he is. I used to work for a guy, and I'm not going to mention, I've worked for a lot of radio stations through the years. And this one general manager, my goodness, he was so squeaky clean. It's such a schmoozer. He loved the ladies. And what the kicker was is that he was this new convert to Christianity. I converted to Christianity when I was 16, and here I think he converted when he was in his 40s. Anyhow, anybody that walked past him that had a pretty face, his neck would come off. It was like The Exorcist, okay? And even my wife, he would have to take a lookie, and just, you couldn't keep it. Then we would do prayers, he would be staring at their, in restaurant. It was really snaky. It was really dodgy. And actually, I got an email from a friend reminding me of this individual just today in light of the Matt Lauer deal about this GM. And I just said to myself, isn't he shaking? Because a lot of people just knew that this is who he was. I mean, you hang out with somebody in a workplace, how many people? We had about, 30 people maybe that worked in the building. So with 30 people, you become like family. Everybody knows somebody. And there's always people with loose lips that'll just let things out. And then word travels so fast. We used to have a saying in a small town where I worked many years ago. And we would say, tell a Helen. Somebody like that. You just tell somebody like that, and then everybody in the whole town knows just like within the hour. She'd make calls, 5, 6 calls, and then all those people would make the calls. And it was better than being on the news. I mean, small towns are that way anyway. But, man, interesting how information does flow. It's just there's creepy people out there, and hopefully you're not one of those I like looking at the ladies. There's nothing wrong with that, looking. My wife looks at guys. But her neck's not broken. Her mother used to say, the eyes don't get old. There's a difference between looking and then groping and sexual misconduct, touching and, saying things and threatening them and just all sorts of things. So the information is going to come out. And so any good feelings that you may have had with a particular individual or a movie or an actor or a host or something like that, these people, they have demons of their own. These are not perfect people. And what people see in public and their public persona is definitely different from what's private. They have private lives. It's amazing to me when people idolize an actor and the particular character that they're portraying in the movie. And I can think of a Fast and Furious celebrity, and his name escapes me. I'm not a huge fan. I don't mind the franchise, but I don't follow it as closely as some people. But an individual died. Somebody died in the franchise. And I've heard of people just crying, can't sleep at night, can't watch another movie, and they didn't even personally know the individual. They said, oh, he was like family, and he was this, and he was that. I'm like, you have no idea who this person really was, unless you were his girlfriend or whatever, friend, a real friend in real life to know that person with the struggles and all the things that the person goes through. And I am certain that there's things in Matt Lauer's life that will come out that will embarrass him even more. And the saddest thing about all of this is that it doesn't just embarrass the individual. He's got a family. He's got a wife. He's got kids. Yikes. Now, he might deny all of it. He might deny it. But I don't think this was just one of these, they went in and said, we got to let you go. There had to have been meetings as recently as the Olympics in Rio. There had to have been meetings about the conduct. And you would think in light of all of the stuff that's happening, they would stop. But there's apparently some more recent stuff than that hasn't come out, that will come out. That's what I'm reading off some of the sites that's coming through. And you're going to be shocked. But don't be. Don't be. People are just broken people. People are not perfect. And everybody's got things that they're dealing with. And, I try not to be a huge judge, but I got to say that there is no acceptance here on this broadcast for people who assault women, maybe a woman that assaults a man. I have no place to say that is right. I have never partaken in something like that with forcing myself doing that or making somebody feel uncomfortable of unwanted advances. I mean, I always thought to myself, look, if a girl wasn't interested in me, why pursue it? My dad used to say, there's more fish in the sea. There's plenty. Don't